Welcome to the Six-Figure Author Experiment, where we help you break through your first or next $100,000 goal. Parental discretion is advised. Now, let's get on with the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Six-Figure Author Experiment. I think that's going to be the name podcast. Hi, Lee.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
I am too. And this is another. So the first episode we kind of did ad hoc when we were having a meeting with Monica. And then I had some direction that I was told to do, which is to get my books up on pre-order. And I did not quite understand how many feelings that would gin up. And so I thought it might be interesting to talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about feelings. And I think that's really useful because whether you've not published at all or you're listening and you've published 100 things, feelings still come up. Feelings get in the way and stop us. And that stopped me from having a writing career for 7+ years. So I'm really excited that I got through them, and I love to talk about how to get through them to move on.
Yeah. And this is something that comes up a lot when you move from retailers to your own direct store or Kickstarter or Ream or some other thing, because it's like a lot of it, I think, is like the fear of the unknown or the fear of failure. And mine is definitely the latter.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. You texted me and said you put 4 books up.
I did. So I set up books every 6 weeks from basically the July 8th through November 11th, which Monica thinks is very like numerology because it's like 11/11 and the book's called Heaven.
I love that. Yes. Apparently that's an angel number. And I don't know much about those, but I am a big fan of feeling lucky and whatever it takes for you to feel lucky. So yeah, let's lean into that. But first of all, congratulations, because that's a lot of work and it's busy work. So sometimes we don't think of that as work. And people are like, oh, I should be writing, and I'm not, because when you have an author career, especially an indie author career, there's a lot of other stuff to do.
Yeah.
And it's work. It all counts. It's all moving forward. Congratulations.
So before we get into like the mindset stuff, I have to just talk about how annoying it is to go put things live on each platform where like there are different rules and like different things come into play. Like, for instance, these are things I don't deal with much, but like on Ingram, when you put your book, when you have your book and you click like enable distribution on it, it puts the book from active and live to revision incomplete. And so the first time that happened, I'm like, what do you mean revision incomplete? Like, I don't have a revision going. So I actually uploaded a new manuscript thinking that it was.
Oh no. Okay.
Yes. So like that set me back for a little bit of time. Luckily it didn't affect like the pre-order going live, I don't think. Here is another thing that used to happen on Ingram and why doing a pre-order very early is good, because it used to take Ingram a month for the image to populate on Amazon. And I don't know if that's still a thing or not.
So I go direct to Amazon with my paperback and then don't use Ingram to go direct. That said, I do nothing. When it was all on me, Russell, I did Kindle Unlimited. I was busy. I call that the busy mom option. Upload one place, call it a day, go write more.
Sure.
And now I have my sister and my husband helping me, and different employees and different silos of my business. And I will say, my sister and my husband would like to take Ingram Spark out back and shoot it as if it was a dead horse. And I'm going to just say that because I don't think we'll ever get promoted by them. And we're big fans of like BookFunnel over here. So, or a Book Vault, and well, definitely BookFunnel too. But yeah, that is my take on Ingram. So again, congratulations, celebrate please, because it is a lot of work and it's a lot of busy crap work. And yeah, like, and I do want to point out again, you're not putting the books up on Amazon for pre-order. That was part of the strategy.
Yes. So I already know all about Amazon, but like I have more things to say about idiotic ways.
Continue. Please.
Okay.
Let's
So
vent.
I had a book, for instance, that I was like, I'm not going to really promote this book. I'm just going to put it up on Draft to Digital, and I'm even going to let them promote on Amazon. I'm going to send it to Amazon. So like, I put send to Amazon on Draft to Digital, and like then I got an email that's like, you have to send us this contract, like language to like our support thing to like before you put our books on Amazon. So like I just put the book on Amazon. It took less time than like doing this email. So like each platform has a lot of like weird issues. And I decided to go direct. I started to go through a retailer to Barnes and Noble because every time I got the Barnes and Noble, when you upload your manuscript to Barnes and Noble, it like looks weird. And I was like, I don't know, like it doesn't look right, but like I know it's right. So like I just decided to not upload the book directly to Barnes and Noble because I did not trust what the previewer was telling me.
I
And
got it.
so it's just I've been like I don't have a Mac, so like I don't go direct to like Apple. It's just like a whole it's like all of these
It's a whole
things.
thing.
It's
It's a
like
whole thing.
and
Yeah.
so if you're going wide, like even if you're sitting there like why are all these things having this weird like if you do a if you put a comic you can't put basically a comic direct anywhere except you can upload a graphic novel to EPUB graphic novel to direct to digital draft digital, but it has to be under a certain megabyte limit, which doesn't matter for like anything except for comics. But like if you were thinking, wow, there's a lot, each platform is like kind of odd, or like, why are all of these things so hard?
Yeah.
Like we had both lovely distributors, Draft to Digital and PublishDrive, like at our conference, and like you can just not make that choice and like decide to put your books like through a distributor for most or all of these things. Like you can pick and choose. I think for instance like Kobo has a really nice back end. Like
I
it's
love Kobo's.
like
Yes,
it
Kobo is a winner. Barnes and Noble, they're doing less well. I don't understand Apple at all. Fortunately, my sister is a Mac person. My husband would also like to take all Macs out back and have a dumpster fire. And I have to say, though, Amazon made my career. So I don't want to say bad things about. I mean, all these platforms
right,
didn't exist like
right.
not even a lifetime ago. They just didn't exist. And so they're still kind of babies. And Ingram Spark is a dinosaur that it's going the way of the dodo bird. But we have these lovely companies that are making strides. I do love PublishDrive. Love it. One flat fee, and then I can click and distribute.
Yeah.
I use it for a lot of box sets, and the money comes in, and it's just lovely. So yeah, PublishDrive and Draft to Digital, great options. It's hard. It's the business of being an author, and
Yeah.
you want to write a book and then make all this money, and how do you do that? So
Yes, and it's a lot of like so I love what you said about like the busy. I think you said it last time. I don't know if you said I heard like that Kindle Unlimited was like the busy mom
yeah,
like
busy mom option.
busy mom option, and like I think that's not only true because like you upload one time, but then you have like Amazon ads and like you don't even have to
It's
really worry about Facebook ads at the beginning. Like you
yeah.
just can like put ads up, and the ad experience on Amazon can be very easy. It is very complicated but like it feels very easy at the if like you just want to put them on.
Oh yeah, they will take your money. Well, except when they don't spend. But I have to say, I'm telling everybody now, if you're just starting out, let me tell you how I started my career, and this is all you need to do. Write a book. You can upload it to somewhere. I chose Amazon. Amazon is the 800-pound gorilla. And that's where my money comes from. It's cool. And then I had a newsletter. And that was it. And guys, I didn't even upload paperbacks. Monica was pointing out, and I love this, so I'm going to repeat it. If you upload all formats, Amazon's going to push your book out more because it's like, well, they're going to buy the ebook, but they also have the option to buy the paperback, the hardback, the audiobook. And oftentimes, either a whisper sync option or like an add-on. Audio is bought as kind of like an add-on.
Uh-huh.
And they're thinking, oh, this $4 product, $3.99, is now a $10, $20 product with all the formats someone could get. But again, as a busy mom, I didn't even have paperbacks for years.
Right.
I didn't take the time to order the cover with the back, the back of the book and upload it to Amazon. My sister is on that and we're getting it done. But and paperbacks are really important for Gen Z, and something physical is really important to the market right now. And even in romance, like different special editions is huge. And we can, you did Kickstarter, so that's part of that.
Yeah, but we're seeing
yeah.
a lot of even like special editions per retailer now, even for indies. Like people will do like a Barnes and Noble.
Yes. Well, when we were at the conference, the Future of Publishing Mastermind conference, and that Russell and Monica put on, my co-writer and I sat down with Barnes and Noble, and they were so cool. They said, will you do a Barnes and Noble special edition? And we really want to show these platforms some love so that they'll show us some love. And that's a really cool way to do it. And really, we wouldn't have had that opportunity without going to the conference and meeting with Barnes and Noble. So I'm going to point that out. But again, I did not do that early in my career. I literally had a baby in my arms or was pregnant and had morning sickness. And so was not moving. And I just wrote books, Amazon newsletter. It can be that simple, but I don't know. This is a 6-figure experiment. So let's talk about bringing in the money, and let's talk about the feelings.
Yes. So to go now that I've fully talked about all of my big feelings about uploading to different platforms, and like in fairness, it was pretty quick. It just was like, and it was just a lot of like, why are all of these platforms so different?
Yes.
But to go back, I have to take back to 2019, and I think this is going to be relevant because 2 of the books, which, well, I guess maybe 4 of the books. So this, I originally wrote 4 trilogy novellas, which were all going to be part of the same universe, but like in different in different worlds. And like one was a sci-fi, one was a fantasy, and like those books bombed so hard that I had to remake the books as the Death, Doom. I didn't even get to Hell or Ruin because like the first 2 bombed so badly. Like when I say bomb, I was like the first book broke even, and by the time the 6th book came out, I think it made like $50. Like and so not great to start.
Okay.
And so I pulled all of those books down, and like not to get too, so this was 2019. So this is before I was on antidepressant meds. And so like
Yes.
it was the last time that I was suicidal was at this moment in my career, because I figured it was all over. And from that, I then took those books and made what, when I came to Kickstarter, was called And Death Followed Behind Her, and Doom Followed Behind Her, and Hell, and then End Ruin. And those books then made 10 grand, like on Kickstarter. So much so that I made enough to pay for a 5th book, which ended up being a team up book between all 5 characters. And then there was a character in what became Conquest, which was like, hey, well, this character's been in a lot of other books. I'm going to make a standalone book with her, and it ended up being a Kimberly book called And Darkness Followed Behind Her, which ended up being Darkness. And then I was like, well, I kind of want to just end this universe now. And so I made like the ultimate book in the universe, which became Chaos. And so like, and then I brought those to Kickstarter. And then after that became like the books after Ruin. But then as we're starting to, by that time it was 2021, I was learning a whole lot more about platforms. And I realized that like a book that starts in the apocalypse and ends 12,000 years later in like space is like probably not a great series starter book. I learned a lot specifically about like the Dresden Files, which the Dresden Files starts as a very, very simple urban fantasy series. And
Yes.
then by like book 6 or 8, I forget where, like he's like riding a dinosaur through downtown, like firing guns.
Yes, and he can do whatever he wants because you're with the character. You're
Right.
into it. By the way, Jim Butcher, the author, has a great live journal with great advice on how to write a book. I put a pin in it to read or reread at least once a year. So go check that out. But yeah, once you get a book and a character and it's kind of established in the genre, it's like, this is what I'm doing.
Right.
Well, then you're like in it. Just think of like Luke Skywalker. We're like, what's going on? But if you know Luke Skywalker and you're like in his head, you're following him, he's your hero, even if you like other characters better than him, you'll follow him through his journey, through his hero's journey. And then you can be in the desert, you can be in outer space, you can be all the above. So yeah, from a writing standpoint, doing the simple first, but really focusing on who's your hero, what are they doing? And Matt Bird has a great book on this, The Secrets of Story. When it's basically like find that hero and your audience is going to ship a hero. They're going to find a hero and well, the romance readers are going to ship him. But they're going to latch on to that person or the lady and they're going to follow her through her journey wherever that takes her. So yeah, that's another good point. And I do want to say two things. Love the titles. And also thank you for talking about mental health. Mental health is part of this. And, awesome. Let's put some content warnings on the beginning of this podcast just to make sure everyone's cool. But it really is cool to acknowledge because everyone's going through it. Everyone has it. I was lucky enough not to have postpartum depression, but I will tell you, hormonal pregnant, I was in a totally different state of mind than I will have ever been or will ever be. And that is all part of it. That is all part of the life experience. And that is part of, you're not a robot. You're not a writing machine. You're human. And that's good. But also we got to bring that into our careers and our author experiment. And let's talk about what is going on under the surface. Cause it's not just, I wrote a book and I'm going to be successful and I'm going to put it up. The mindset stuff really can trip you up.
Yeah, and also it's like not I made 5 books and suddenly like I'm over this hurdle and I'm never gonna feel it again because like it's a cycle and like we hopefully get better at like picking out the like those moments in our cycle and like maybe short circuiting them inside of us so like maybe we don't feel it as much like I used the spiral. The thing that used to get me was like I would like if one bad thing happened, if like let's say like something fell off my desk, like it would become a doom spiral that was I could not get out of until like I was like crumpled up on the floor. And so like what has helped, the thing that medication helped with me most was like I can be like, oh, I have a lot of feelings about this. Isn't that interesting? Like and like instead of like triggering the doom spiral, it like triggers me to be like, oh, like I should do something about this.
Yeah, I want to point out again, meds are great. And I do want to say this about fear. Okay, the brain, the amygdala, the like primal brain is about survival. It does not care if you're happy. It just wants you to keep breathing. And it really controls all of our actions to the point where we're actually functioning on the level of a rabbit, really, and the issue is we also have the more advanced parts of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, which has imagination and memory. And then when the primal brain and the advanced brain try to talk to each other, things get stuck, memories get stuck. That's how PTSD can happen. And it really is dysfunctional. And I'm in a class right now learning about this. And the teacher says, dysfunction is actually normal. In our minds, the way they work together, the way it's evolved with the old clunky part and the new Tesla model on top, it's dysfunctional. Dysfunction is the norm. And I love the mindset stuff because with medication, with therapy, with models of therapy, like I love hypnotherapy and stuff like that, we can have those two parts of the brain talk to each other better and move past the stuckness, like get over it and keep moving forward. Because rabbit, gets chased by a wolf, and then you go up to a rabbit and be like, aren't you so scared? You just got chased by the wolf. And the rabbit goes, what wolf?
Right.
It's gone, but we have memory. And so we're still reliving all that like crap. And then we're doom spiraling, like you said. And that's just the way our minds work. And you didn't know you were going to get a therapy lesson today, but now you are.
If you've been listening to me for a while, you know you're going to get a therapy lesson about any
Okay,
time I
good.
do a thing. But like one thing that I want to add to that is like our brains don't separate physical danger and emotional or psychological danger. So like they equate those things are equated, and so our brains have evolved to be like to say danger, bad, don't do that. And so we are
Yes.
literally fighting against ourselves, like our brains to have success. Like our
Yes.
body is fighting us to say,
Yes.
like our body wants entropy. Like it wants everything to stay the same. And
Yes.
because like in the same there is safety.
Yes.
Anytime you step out of there, you might not be safe, whether that's traveling somewhere new or doing something new. And so like not only do we have to like do the hard thing of making a business work, we also have to like get through ourselves blocking us from doing all of those things and not telling us you shouldn't do that anymore. Like maybe you just give up. Like maybe you should just go back to your safe zone. Maybe you should do this. And other people are listening to you saying all of the things you're going to do, and they're saying, oh my God, like that is not safe. Like you should not do that. Be in safety. I know how to like do this normal thing. And what's weird about being an author, about being a successful author and being surrounded by almost all successful authors at this point, or like at least authors, is like the level of their danger is just different. Like they're like, oh no, like launch 20 books, like do all these other things, like all of this stuff. And so like you can switch that, you can help that by like changing your network. You can change that by like actually doing the thing and realizing you're not going to die. But like in order to even get there, you have to like get through and over yourself.
Yes. And that's what this podcast is going to be about, guys. So we're going to bring you along this journey and normalize all of this just by joining this tribe of people putting stuff up on Amazon and making it go, making it fly. You're going to normalize that level for yourself. And then you were talking about the imagination, and the brain doesn't know the difference. But guys, that's why storytelling is so powerful. That's why we have this interest in this gift and this career, is because our brains do work like this. So yeah, they're dysfunctional, but we'll keep them. Let's just move past the dysfunction and figure out ways to get both our primal brain and our prefrontal cortex on the same page, moving. Because when it comes down to it, your brain's just trying to keep you alive. Like all of it just wants you to keep breathing. And we're going to make it safe for you to publish on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And yes, even struggle with Ingram Spark. And yes, you survived it and you're keeping breathing.
Yes. So let's go back to the launch for a second, because like one of the things that I found afterwards, once I decompressed, once I met Monica and really started talking to like I knew all like comics people and convention people and people that really didn't do retailers. So meeting Monica really like gave me like not even a crash course, like just like a long, intensive like master's doctorate degree in like how these platforms are different. And what I realized was that I was going I was putting on Amazon a rapid release strategy without being in KU, in genres that like really weren't big enough to support those like series and also only doing 3 books when like it's not realistic for genres outside of romance and thriller to be able to become profitable on any less than 4 books. Like 4 is the break even on most, seems like somewhere between 4 and 5 for most genres. Like I used to say all genres, and then like all of my friends who are contemporary romance people were like, actually, I made $1 million on 1 book. And I'm like, yes, like, and in certain genres, you can like make money or start making money on fewer books, especially if you are in KU, especially like in the first, but like in general, like if we're running ads on most genres, we're probably not going to break even until book 4. I was also doing novellas in 2019, and novellas didn't become a thing that people actually like read popularly until about 2022 or 2023. So like there was all sorts of these like things that I was fighting against myself to do. Like you probably shouldn't do a like month launch KU strat like a month release strategy if you are wide, because they favor time on platform.
Yeah,
Like
they buy. Yeah, the platforms favor different things. Also, readers have different buying habits on different platforms.
right. Yes. And then and then I was making a really weird book and like a bunch of really weird books. And so when I finally got the books to, they were at that point book 1 and 7. I looked and I was like, oh, like no one's gonna buy this weird book. Like, I can't even talk about this book properly because like there's three different stories, so it's an omnibus basically. It starts in the apocalypse, it goes 10,000 years in the future, and like they fight like gods and monsters after like dealing with the apocalypse. It's just like a lot. So what I did was I said, this is where I want to go. How do I get people to the apocalypse point? And so I like basically rewound the series until like and made 4, but ended up saying, okay, like we need a basic urban fantasy book with like portals, and so like this is like magic, and then like I want to show them how weird it can get. So like I'm going to take the main character from one of the main characters in book 1, and I'm going to give her her own story in book 2, and we're going to like use portals, but like we're going to go like across the universe, and like we're going to go
Love it.
like, between, and then like book 3 is going to take her sister, and we're going to deal with time, and like and then book 4 is like, by that time we were like in 2016, the apocalypse was like 2020-ish, that was and so it was like 2016.
The apocalypse was in 2020.
It was very weird to watch this happen because like I'd written the first book in like 2011.
What did you do to us, Russell? What the
I know,
heck?
right? It's just too prescient. But like that one was like, so like that book was called Heaven. It was about a battle between like the fallen angels and like the angels that were loyal to God. And like then by that point, you like 4 books in, you've got 4 point of views, and like you are ready for the apocalypse to happen. I've now prepped you for 4 books. I've like used the weaponry and all of the people that were going to appear in book 5. And like I learned from like Elena Johnson that like if you want to stop people from dipping in your series, you need to like set stuff up early so that people keep coming back for the things that they read.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's all a skill. And this is also, what was the first book you ever wrote? Because, I mean, you learn this stuff as you go.
Yeah, so I wrote, so I believe in that you should start your book, your career writing a book that is in a genre that has a very heavy structure like mystery. So I did this middle grade fiction book called Gumshoes: The Case of Madison's Father. It was basically CSI for kids. And
Encyclopedia Brown fan?
Yes,
I'm a fan.
It was Encyclopedia Brown meets basically like CSI, but with like no murder or things in CSI.
Beautiful.
And so I learned from that one structure, and like the prose is more basic in a middle grade fiction book.
Of course. Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah. I love it. And it's all a journey. So you talk about failing in 2019, and to the listeners, I want you to ask yourself, what is failure? Like, what does that mean to you? And what is success? Like, those are good things to think about. And I'm going to work on removing the disappointment from either. Like, what if we just did things and then got data? Because with data, we can also take some feelings out of it and be like, okay, Pareto principle, 80-20, what's happening? And
yeah, I love that because, and like, so I always say data is not good or bad. It's just exists. But like, you can take data and make decisions that are not going to be in your best interest. I still think you need the data. Like, you need to know that contemporary romance is like the most popular category. And like, you need to know like what the tropes are in those things that are the most popular and like how they segment. And then you can say, actually, I'm going to write like a Western horror sci-fi book. And you're like, well, if you do that, you are going to like seriously limit your audience. And someone said something the other day that was like, every decision you make in writing is really also a marketing decision, because it is going to increase or decrease your audience size. And like, one of the things I think that like a lot of people who write less popular genres, like they complain about, that there's just like they can't get traction even though their books are good. And it's like, well, if you segment all of the things that you did to like narrow the audience, like if you just did half of them, you probably would like get a like more popular book. We talk all the time about like paranormal cozy mystery.
Yes.
And so like we have a friend who wrote a book. The main character was a psychic, not a witch. And it's like clearly like if you are writing cozy mystery, you should have like a witch who like owns a bake shop or like some sort of tea emporium or like does something with food. And there should be like a romance, even if it is a slow burn romance, there needs to be like a hunky like
werewolf. Yes,
werewolf,
absolutely.
or like detective or somebody. And like, you don't have to do those things, but like every decision you make against those things are going to limit the audience below like what the height is. And you really need to ask yourself, like, does it matter that like she owns a bake shop or like she owns a fish and tackle shop? Like, is that like if that's a really important decision for you, then like, okay, you should make it. But like, if it doesn't matter, if like they're a witch or like they're like a fallen goddess, like make them a witch, because the witch is going to be the more popular choice where you will get the most readers.
Right. And I see this across my series. Like I have werewolves and I have one werewolves. They're Viking werewolves of 9th century Norway. And that series will just never do as well as my more mainstream paranormal romance, big bad boss. It's basically contemporary romance tropes with a werewolf boss or billionaire.
Right.
Yeah, or werewolves are billionaires. What of it? Come at me. There's so many billionaires in romance, just like there's so many dukes in historical romance, like, and they're all hot, right?
Yeah, they're all hot, and they all love normal,
and
like,
they
small town
all love
girls.
women who look like me. Absolutely.
But that's
it's just, I know already which one I can advertise more and which will return. And by the way, that 4-book thing, now that I think about it, I'm like, yeah, that's when we really start to see the money pour in. And it would pour in different amounts depending on just how squarely we hit the market. Now, I love my Berserker series, my Viking werewolves, but I just know I'm not going to spend the advertising dollars on them unless I just want to.
Right.
And that's a personal choice. And I tend to just make my series work, make them go, because as you said, I'm a forest. We can talk about those later, but I definitely can find an easier audience for certain books. I just put up data. I had a freebie, like reader cookie, back of the book. Hey, you want more of my books? Here's one for free to get on my newsletter. I put up the Viking Werewolf, got 186 signups. I put up the polyamorous Why Choose Beauty and the Lumberjack. So it's one woman, bunch of lumberjacks. The book that hit is a standalone, and it hit like 40 in the store. It did really well from the beginning because I just hit the market so squarely, right?
Right.
And I put that up as a freebie and got 12,000 downloads. The writing, I would say, actually, the blurbs are pretty excellent, both of them. But, just the way it's packaged and whether or not it's presented to the market, what the market wants, it just, one is going to be not just 100 times more successful.
Right.
And I'm just like, okay, well, I wrote both. I like both, but I will put this one to be my freebie.
Right, absolutely. And it's really interesting because like statistically 6 is the perfect number for a series. Like it's 6 books, then it's a 3-set box set, a 3-set box set, and a 6-set box set. So like almost everything in like in like romance and like they're all like 6 books. They're all 3 books or 6 books like on some level because like that is what. And like if you are looking at the math like a lot of deserts do, you then were like, well, why would I write anything besides 6 books? And like, why would I write like, because that's like the ideal number. But like there are advantages to writing a longer series that like someone who's a grassland would be like, well, you do it because like once you hit 10 books, like you have arbitrage and like you can just like literally spend money forever. Like, yes, there's a dip between 7, 8, and 9, or like 7 or whatever, but like, here's how I mitigate that. And like, here's why I want to get to 20 books. Because like, if people that write those 6 books are always like, well, like my books don't have like a long shelf life. Like they come in, they come out, like, and then like, I gotta like, every time I'm starting from scratch and like, feels like I'm starting from scratch again and again and again. And it's like, I always tell them like, well, like what if you did like just a long series, got through that dip, and then like you could just market that book forever. If you have 20 books, it doesn't matter if it takes $10 to get the first person in the first book. You just win because you can like spend more on advertising. And like neither of those things are right or wrong, but like if you don't know the data behind it, you will make decisions that are not in your best interest. And to me, that's what data does. Data allows you to make decisions that are in your best interest. If I had known all of these things before, I would have made different choices, or maybe I would have made the same choices with my series.
You might have made the same choices because, again, what is failure? What is success? You said something like there's no right or wrong. There's just what you want. And if you have a goal to write a book, first of all, congratulations. A lot of people say they want to do that and not everyone does. And you did. And then you did it times, 20 or 40. So congratulations again. And then you're like, well, I don't just want to write a book. I want to make $100 million. And then that's a different goal. Right. And there's nothing good or bad. Like both are equal, but one is going to get you towards the $100 million or whatever your number is. And so again, ask yourself, what is my failure? What is my success? Do I want to leave my job? Do I want to make 6 figures from my indie career? Do I want to, be optioned for trad? Do I want to get a Netflix deal? Like put it all out there. And then let's talk about the feelings. Right. What comes up? What came up for you?
All of the feelings from 2019 at like a lower level, but I just started to have this fear of like, I don't even think it was failure. It was just of like existence on that platform means like I have to go, it could all blow up in my face. And like, I generally don't care about things blowing up in my face. So like, I definitely knew that like it was coming from like that like place of failure, but I only knew it because I had like seen it before in my own life. So yeah, it was definitely a lot about like, I can't believe I'm doing this again. I can't believe I'm doing it in public. It's going to be worse than last time. It's going to like, no one's going to actually come to this series. It's going to like break something intrinsic in like how my audience operates, like something like all of those things. And then like after I sent that text to you and we said we were gonna, like I woke up the next day and I was like, oh, like they're up now. They're up now. Like they're there.
They're up. Okay, so there's a cool thing that happens. Do you know when people smoke, it relaxes them? Yes. But nicotine is a stimulant. So it does the opposite in their body, but their brain says, oh, this is safe because we do it all the time and we always want to do it. So it relaxes you. So anything that you do, your brain's like, this is safe. And anything you avoid, your brain doesn't think this is dangerous. The brain thinks this is so dangerous, it will kill you. There's no like gradient of threat. There's no orange level alert. It's all DEFCON 5, you will die.
Right.
Saber-tooth tiger, your mother-in-law criticizing you, your teacher telling you you're a failure, you putting up books on Amazon, and whatever happens. but you're avoiding it. And it thinks, oh, if you upload your books to Amazon, you'll die. That's literally what's happening in your primal brain. Just by doing the thing, you normalize it, just like smokers normalized the nicotine rush until it was relaxing. So just by doing the thing, you've told your brain, this is safe. This is in our comfort zone. So you did that. The other feelings coming up, I love that, you're on medication. You've obviously taken steps to treat the brain chemical imbalances that don't help when you're like scared. Those can go haywire, and it's nice to just get to a baseline, and then you're just feeling the feelings and going, okay. I want to dig more into your story real quick. I'll say I coached someone live. She was really sweet. I don't think she'll mind me sharing it because it was in front of everyone in her conference. And she said, I wanted to make $1 million this year. I've worked so hard. I've gotten so close. And now I feel like it'll never happen. And I said, great. Can we just do the thing right now? She's like, sure, we're in it. I said, imagine you just made $1 million yesterday. You crossed the finish line. What just came up for you? And she stares at me and she's like, what if I can't do it again? And that's a real thing. I don't know if that's your thing. We'll unpack it in a second. But for her, it was the thing. And then I said, well, what's the worst thing that would happen if you never did it again? Well, I'd be disappointed. I was like, great. What if you choose not to be disappointed? And we cleared it. And since then, she's gone on to make 7 figures and like completely, she posted what she's making. And I'm like, you're completely stomping all over my income. It's great. Wow, you run this race and we end it this year. But let's think about that. What if all your success is behind you, but you did the thing? Can you just say, I'm grateful I did the thing, and any disappointment that comes up, be like, I'm not going to feel you because I'm just grateful I did the thing.
Yeah. I mean, I would also say even on top of that, like you can't, like there's this great quote. It's like, you aren't responsible for your feelings. You are responsible for how you present those feelings. I think I'm getting it wrong, but like, it's like a lot of people feel like, oh, this must be like a problem with me because I'm in fear, like, or I'm in like joy, or I'm in anger. And like a lot of my inner work, like the last couple of years has been about like, oh, you feel angry. Isn't that interesting? Like you feel fear. Isn't that interesting? Like that is not a moral, like your feelings are not a moral failing. They just are like the things that anyone feels. Like anyone has those feels.
It's a normal state. And if it's dysfunctional, guess what? Dysfunctional is normal.
Yeah. And it takes you like, I will, not to make this about my dog, but like, I'm going to make it about my dog. Like my dog
Do it.
Came from China. Like he was super anxious. He had to get a bunch of his teeth pulled. Like for the last 2 years, like for the last 6 months, he's been on like meds, like Prozac for dogs. Both of my dogs are on Prozac for dogs. And like, you just see that like over time, he has actualized to like his safe zone, and it's changed. Like he's much more dog-like now, like you would expect a dog to be, and like less avoidant. Like he's more like he's exhibiting the things of dog. But like that's because like it's been 3 years now, basically, and like that is behind him. Like he has a safe place here. He has like and he's on meds. And like he used to not eat, like, and now he like eats perfectly well. But like all of those things happened to this dog. And at each time, like he would make these what feel like almost like minuscule improvements. And then like he would like leap forward one day and be like, is this the same dog? And like it just kept happening. And one of the other things that really like messes you up is like it doesn't feel like you're making progress, but then like you leap forward. Like you think about like mailing lists, like I talked about like from like 1,000 people to like 10,000 people. It's just like there's not a ton of like, it doesn't feel like you're doing. And then like one day you launch a book and you're like, oh my God, this raised like $20,000. Like what is the like I just raised like one day, like 6 months ago, I was raising $5,000, and now I'm raising like $20,000 or $50,000. Like, what is, and it's like, We
Your
don't see
overnight
the
success took 10 years.
Absolutely. It's like you don't see the change until you see the change very, 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 very drastically. And that's another part of like, you have to go through this. Like, the problem with failure and success is they look the same in the middle of it. Like, and you also can't say when success is going to come. So like, are you deluding yourself by continuing down that path? Or like, are you like on the right path? And like, that is like some real, like legitimate fear, especially if you're like writing on nights and weekends instead of being with your family, and like you're going to conventions and you're dropping a bunch of money on it. Like at some point you're like, am I like, is this like the fear is legitimate and illegitimate at the same time. And that's to me what makes it like tough. We are spending just an obscene amount of money in my company to like build our list and like figure out, like we hired a growth team, and like I'm on this journey right now, and right now there's just like no payoff for it. There's just like new subscribers and like, will this be money? And like, am I flushing like our savings down the toilet? Like, what are these things? But like, I won't actually know. Like future me, like 3 months from now, me like knows, but like I don't know. So one of the things like I always try to be is like kind to future Russell, and also being able to look back and say, I listened today to the Happiness Lab, and they had a Happiness Day podcast, and someone said something so brilliant. They were like, when I feel like the next, I'm going to be worrying about this for the next 5 or 10 years, and I don't have a good analog for it, what I do is I look back 5 or 10 years and I try to think of something that I thought was going to rule my life, and like think about how little I care about that thing now. And like,
Love it.
so yeah, it's this combination of like, they are real fears. Like there are real like underlying things in there. But the only way to break through them is to do them. But also you might end up with egg on your face doing them.
Do you love your books?
Yes, I do not understand people who don't love their books. Like,
So you love your books. You win.
Yeah,
You win. You succeed. You did it.
The only thing you have is the work that you've done at the end of the day, like the good you put out, the karma you put out, like the books you put out in the world. And like, I think all the stuff. So I'll tell you that like this even happens on Kickstarter, because like I am doing a book with SK Prince, and like it's a sexy paranormal romance about
I'm a
like
fan.
a psychopop like girl and like a boy that can be the first person in all of history to like be able to see her, and like it's a love story, there's sex, there's like it's a whole thing,
Fun times.
and so working backward, so like that one has absolutely easily the most followers I've ever had on Kickstarter at like 650. Working backwards, then one before that was called Cthulhu is Hard to Spell. It was an anthology series, and it had about 400. And like that was like because it had Lovecraft, and like Lovecraft was popular. And then before that, it was like, I don't know, like 200 probably before then, the followers. And like, if you don't know what a follower is, before you launch a project, you get a pre-launch page. And like, if you have a Kickstarter account, you can like follow projects before they go live. And so like,
I did not know that.
Yes. It's one of the best strategies that you can use to judge whether you're going to be successful or not. So like, even if you're like, well, I don't care about Amazon, like I'm doing Kickstarter or I'm doing this, like these things matter. Like literally, like I've been saying all year, like this is the year of getting out of my own way. Like I'm writing a contemporary revenge thriller for my agent, because he's been asking me for, like, that is what people are asking for. And I was like, okay, like I'll write one, because I wrote one called White Rabbit, which was like set in Wonderland. And he's like, people liked it, but like it's too fantasy for like the people who don't want fantasy, and to not fantasy for people who want fantasy.
So you got some data, and he gave you back the data,
and now you can do a new thing. And he's like, I was like, what do you want? Like, what can you sell? He's like, a revenge thriller. And I was like, oh. But then I took a thing from what we know about deserts, which is deserts take joy in the process, not inserting themselves into the process. And so I was like,
Yes.
how can I find joy in writing this revenge thriller? And so I did that. I did a book with I did a romance book, like a paranormal romance book, and like where like romance was the center and like not safe for work was like at the center because that's what works on Kickstarter. We hired an artist who's already very popular on Kickstarter. Like I just did we got a publisher who like is already very popular in the not safe for work comics area, who wanted to start a line of like woman-led comics
I
that
want
like,
all these contacts, by the way. This is a new
yes,
frontier for me. I'm
yes,
excited. We're going
oh,
to do episodes on Kickstarter. I know it.
absolutely. And like all of those things, like we're like, what if instead of my whole career has been like, I'm going to show you how to make this thing, but like it's going to be very weird. It's kind of like, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, like, and it's
Yeah.
been like, well, like I want to be a writer and like I want to make money as a writer. So like maybe I should consider like thinking about writing in like a contemporary genre where like it is just, I don't want to say it's not easy to make money, but like there is a bigger audience. So like it is easier to cleave off a part of that, or like even paranormal romance, or like in a bigger, like what if
Yeah.
instead of making choices that limited my audience, I still made a book that felt like me, but maintained all of the bits of like that audience wanted. And like that is not a choice I could have made 5 years ago because I would have like resisted it, but it's a choice I can make now.
Yes, because you've done some things and you're like, okay, adjust, adjust, adjust. And that's awesome. And that is only possible if you get out of your own way. I love that this is the year of getting out of your own way. That is a great philosophy. It sounds like you're going to write these things and you'll be like, I hated writing that thing for the agent, or I loved it, but I hated writing the paranormal romance. And that's data. And you
Right.
lived your life. And even if the books don't sell, the reason I asked, do you love your books, is because you writing the book and being in flow a couple times a week and just existing and creating is worth your lifetime, the time that you're going to spend walking the earth.
Right.
So I'm trying to reframe success here for you. I'm trying to be like, look, you already succeeded. The funny thing is, Russell, when you told me about this project, you have all these books, they're not on Amazon, and I looked like I wanted to cry. I was like, why? Get your computer right now. We are going to put them up. I like that we have a strategy, but I was thinking to myself, like, what is going on? Because for me, uploading is money. I want to normalize that for you.
Right.
And that's what this podcast is about. But then you tell me about Kickstarter, and I'm thinking to myself, what do you mean you failed with these books? I've never done a Kickstarter. I want to hear all about it because that's a new frontier for me to fail and then ultimately hit my goal in, which is success. It's so fun to me that you're coming to me like, I want to make these books. We'll see if they fail or succeed. And I'm like, they literally have already made salary for you. That is a huge success. So let's see if they fail or succeed. Now, can things be tweaked? Can you write more to market? Can the market change to suddenly love vampires again? As Anne Rice says, it happens every 10 years or so. You just cycle it. But you've already had a bunch of success. So that is your homework, by the way. If you're listening to this and you have some feelings and you're like, I want to feel better, your homework and Russell's homework and my homework is to go write out a list of things you're grateful for. That will quickly shift your mood. It's been scientifically proven. I have a list of studies I'll send to you. We can put it in the show notes. And you also come away from this feeling of like, look at the thing. I've done the thing. I've done so many things. I've done all these things. And personally, when I got over my 7-year-long block over being an author, I thought I could not be an author. I made myself go take jobs that sucked. I sold life insurance. I did not want to do that, but I thought I had to. And then I got rid of that block and I published. I made $50 in January 2015. And I was crying with happiness because I loved my books and I did the thing. I am so grateful. Even if they had made negative $50, I'm so grateful I did it. So the more you can shift your feelings towards gratitude, that will help. And then just doing the thing gets your comfort zone expanded so you don't feel the fear.
Yes. I will give you a second thing. You can pick either one or the other or do both. But like, I would like to know, write down the ways, take a book that you already have out or like a book you're planning and like really analyze in what ways you are holding yourself back with that book.
I love this.
The cover? Like, I know we don't want covers. Everyone wants a cover that's like so different. And like, why do we make covers that are the same? And it's like, because people buy those things. Like, is it the blurb? Like, is it just like doing any advertising? Like, do you have no mailing list? Like, there are all these, like, are you in a genre that like doesn't necessarily support like a huge number of people? Is there a way to like make your next project a little bit broader or like make a book before there to like get people into it? Like, how is your book holding you back? And are you okay with those things? Because you might look at that list and be like, well, I picked a genre. I love this genre. Like, I don't care if it makes, and like, that's okay. But like, then you have to say, it is okay. There is no reasonable explanation that I will make money. There's no reasonable expectation that I will do X, Y, and Z. And then say, well, so I write Portal Fantasy. And like, my books have gods and monsters and such. And like, while there's not a huge audience in America for them, it is the number one genre in Japan and also in games, in RPGs, and all of these other areas that could be that might bring me a bigger audience and allow me to do that thing. So like, what ways could you like maybe repurpose the things that you have so that you find the audience and the success that you need or want?
I love that. So make a gratitude list and pick a book. And we could definitely have episodes that I just do this on different books of mine. And I just talk about how it can be improved. And some of it is you don't have the time or the bandwidth to improve the book, and that's okay. But noodle on that for a book that maybe quote unquote failed or didn't go as far as you wanted or didn't do what you wanted it to do, and make a list of what could change. Is that correct? Did I get that right?
Yeah. I mean, what you'll find is when you talk to a lot of successful authors is like only about 20% of their catalog is doing work at any one time. Like it's
80-20. Yeah.
And so like most books, even in like a person that has 100 books out, like only 20 of those ones are probably earning for them at any one time. So like, I mean, again, this is not like perfect. Like it's not going to be exactly 80-20, but like most people, like their backlist or the majority of their backlist is not doing work for them. So like, it's not just you, like it only takes, and I've seen this so many times, and like, it only takes one book to change your entire career. Like it's just every person, like Suzanne Collins, like was a mid-list writer, and then they wrote Hunger Games. Like E.L. James, like was a fan writer, and then they wrote 50 Shades. Like it only, like your career is not made on one book, but the next book you write can change your career.
Yeah. Or it could be something you've already written. And then TikTok decides they just love hockey players who are also vampires. And it's the thing. It's the new wave. And you wrote that book.
Absolutely. Okay. I thought this was going to be a 20-minute episode. It's an hour. I think that's probably good. Any final thoughts?
Do your homework and let us know how it goes. We want to hear from you.
Yes, we have some really cool things coming up. I'm excited to talk. I'm not going to say what the next episode is going to be in case it falls through, but I'm super excited. So stay with us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. For more, head on over to sixfigureauthorexperiment.com for archive access, resources, and more. We'll see you next time.